adults, women, and young teenagers, 16 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old, raped and sexually abused in the Faikava spaces. I'm not trying to ban kava. They know that I'm talking about banning Tou'a, but they're just trying to talk about kava because they don't want to face the sexual abuse that I'm talking about. Families are breaking up, leaving children fatherless and wives to look after the kids. We need to do something about it because if not, it's going to continue.
Talofa and malo lele to you, Akanesi. Thank you for joining Dear Suga today. I truly appreciate it. So, who is Akanesi Kaufusi?
Thank you so much, Nen, for having me on your podcast. For those of you who don't know, my name is Akanese Kaufusi. I've been in the online platform talking about Faikava and Tou'a in our Tongan culture. I am full Tongan, currently living in Australia, and I started a podcast last year called Pasifika Empowerment Podcast, and that started my online presence.
That's super awesome. And I know a lot of people that are going to be joining are interested in learning about the Tou'a conversation. But before we dive into it, let's go back traditionally. What is the role of kava, but also the role of a Tou'a in the traditional Tongan culture?
Thank you. Traditionally, kava has been used in the Tongan culture for ceremony, especially for the royals, any traditional ceremony in Tonga. Kava is used to welcome guests in kava gathering, drinking. And so it's been part of the Tongan culture and the Tongan traditions for centuries. The problem is back then it was used as a tradition for ceremony only. But the problem now is being used for regular Faikava and kava clubs anywhere. For the Tou'a, traditionally it was used for ceremony only, like the Samoan culture, inviting guests and welcoming anyone using kava and Tou'a. So Tou'a is a woman who sits in the center of the kava circle and serve the kava to the men that are sitting around the circle, just like taupo. Back then it was only used for kava ceremony. But the problem now is that it's being commercialized. Women get paid for it, and that comes with so many problems.
So I did a little research, but then I hope you can maybe correct me on because you are sort of the expert in the culture. I read that it wasn't supposed to be anyone related to them. Usually, if it's a kalapu, it's usually a woman who's not related to anyone in the circle. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not a rule. In our Tongan culture, we have like a very taboo relationship with our brothers and sisters. So between brother and sisters, we're not allowed to watch TV together. We are not allowed to wear any revealing clothes inside the house. The brother and sister relationship in the Tongan culture is very taboo. Faikava is, the kava circle is not a very taboo setting because men get drunk from kava and they free to talk whatever they want to talk about. And if there's a Tou'a there and you're not talking dirty to her, it's not appropriate for a family or relative to be there. So that's why they don't usually sit in a circle where the Tou'a is a relative.
That's a really good point because even in the Samoan culture, we call it the whangainga. The most important relationship is between a brother and a sister. It was a very sacred relationship. So I thought that was pretty interesting that it's the same thing in the Tongan culture. And so I think maybe there's a clarification that needs to be said because kava, it's very important in our tradition in all of Pasifika. It's for greetings, ceremonial. It is about shared space. The initiative you're trying to create, are you trying to create it to ban the use of kava altogether?
Not the use of kava to ban Tou'a, to ban a woman in the kava circle because it's not safe for women to be there, especially at night. Kava, I'm also trying to restrict the timing. In Tonga, we don't have kava bar like Fiji and, we only have the kava clubs where almost every village have their own community hall. And so that's where they drink kava. They socialize, even in church hall. And the thing is, they can drink kava up until daylight. So there is no restrictions. There is no law or rule against that. But that's where the problem happens is they have Tou'a there for around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes up until daylight. If you've seen some of the videos that I've posted of cover settings where men, touch the Tou'a or, make fun of the Tou'a or sexually harass the Tou'a during Faikava. And then after Faikava, that's where some of the women are sexually abused. Usually happens when they get dropped off for picking up the Tou'a, or it happens when there's not many people in the cover settings when it's closing time.
I've been very ignorant because I didn't know that that was like part of the culture. I
Yeah.
grew up around kava. My guy friends, they go out and drink, but it's always them. They're just guys getting together. But I didn't know that was actually a Tongan traditional practice to have a woman there to actually serve the kava. And so for me, I guess because there's so many women that have experienced this, but you're super outspoken about this, leading this effort. Is there like a personal experience that you've been through? I feel like usually there's a personal connection or something that kind of makes you take it to the next level and really be passionate about it. Is that something that you'd be open to having a conversation about?
Yeah, no, strangely, I don't have any experience on kava. I have never been Doha before. My dad fight kava, but he wasn't a kava addict who stays in fight kava for so long. He was a hardworking man and he drinks kava, but when it's near midnight, he comes home. I don't have any fight kava experience, interestingly. The reason why I'm so passionate about it is because the victims that message me with their experience. Also, I grew up seeing the problems that's been happening there. So what men do, especially online, if they make fun of a Tongan woman, they usually tell them to come Doha. So when I was posting my social media podcast, some of the men was making fun of me and told me to come in Doha for them. So it's like very degrading. And that's when I started creating one video about the Tou'a, the sexualization of women in the Faikava. I had no idea it's gonna explode. I was just making it because no one has spoken about it before. And I didn't like how men objectify women. They have their own sisters. And for them to help identify Tongan women like that, it's especially we have the whakaapa. For them to claim a taboo relationship and then turns around and degrade Tongan women just to come and serve them kava. And that's when I created my first video. Then the huge uproar was when I compared to prostitution. I didn't know it's gonna blow up. Causes in the uproar in the Tongan community, not just in Tonga but around the world because Faikava is practiced everywhere around the world with Tou'a. And after that uproar, I didn't really mind. But then Tou'a victims started messaging me of how some were raped, some were sexually abused. And then wives of the Thai government started messaging me with their experience as well, how they are struggling. And that's how I got the passion to fight for it because there's no one out there to fight for these women. They have their own experience of being sexually abused in Faikava and no one cares about them. And when I put up these testimonials, all the man was doing was denial. They were so in denial. Even women, in the Tongan community saying that I made it up. And that's when you see what's wrong in society, when they try to deny the victim's experience and try to silence the victims. And that's when I feel like maybe this happens for a reason. If the victims come to me directly with their experience, I feel like I have a responsibility to fight for these women because I have the ability and I'm strong enough to take on this fight government. These women are not strong enough to take the criticism online, but I can take it. I can handle it.
I think that's admirable that you're helping drive this initiative. A lot of women are messaging you. How can we empower them to help them stand up against it? I don't know if there's a big worry behind maybe there's a government or I'm thinking in terms of statistics, my brain kind of goes there sometimes. What's the violence against women? Is there anything out there that helps protect them?
I'm not sure about the statistics, but the violence against women in Tonga is quite high, as well as other regions. I think the Pacific overall is 64% of domestic violence against women in the Pacific, and Tonga is quite high as well. The thing is, there is a CEDAW. So many Pacific regions have accepted it, but Tonga hasn't signed on it. It's a law to protect women and give women equal rights. But Tonga is one of the few regions who haven't signed on it. And it's because of the homosexual side of things. So the reason why they don't sign it is because they don't want homosexual gay marriage to be legalized in Tonga. So they are looking from that perspective. But the benefit of CEDAW is protecting the women. There's a domestic violence center in women, children, and center in Tonga, but they can only do so much. They can't handle everything. No one has dealt with the sexual abuse before or spoken about it or fight about it. That's why I feel so passionate about fighting this, because there's no one out there trying to defend these women.
That's crazy. So for the month of April, it is
Yeah.
Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We all know that domestic violence happens and usually women are the victim. And I'm not saying that men aren't, but majority of the time it's women. In terms of the campaign that you're creating, so banning the Tou'a, have you reached your goal?
No, the target is 50,000, but I think almost 2,000 signatures at the moment. So it's still far, but we are working in the background. Some of the people are helping me draft a proposal for the government in Tonga. So whatever signatures we will get in timing for us to put in the proposal for the Tongan government, we will use that.
It's a big battle, like something that people will consider as traditional. I think the misconception is that you're out there trying to ban kava when you're trying to ban the practice of a toa. Can you explain a little bit more why you think it should be banned?
Yeah, it's so funny because during the uproar, so many people were talking about me banning kava, even though I've been speaking about Doha every day and they kept going about me banning kava.
I've seen some memes and music.
Yeah, and then, oh my gosh, there's so many music out there about me, mostly bad. But that's the thing, and I feel like they're doing it intently. They're not like they know that I'm talking about banning Tou'a, but they're just trying to talk about kava because they don't want to face the sexual abuse that I'm talking about. They're really in denial and they don't want to face it, because if they face the abuse, then they'll agree with me that it's not good to have Tou'a there. So that's why they kept going on about kava while I'm talking about ban Tou'a. But just to clarify, I'm not trying to ban kava. I am trying to ban Tou'a. I'm just trying to restore back to how it was. Back in the day, how, when Tou'a and fight was in a respected manner, there, it was only for ceremony and for according to women in their house. So if you want to date someone, you would go to their house and, drink kava there and date the woman. I'm just trying to ban Tou'a from the kava settings, regular Faikava in church, Faikava in community, any Faikava anywhere, kava clubs, kava bar anywhere, to ban Tou'a from there and restore it back to only use for traditional ceremony. Only ceremony like Tangwa, they use the taupo. So I'm trying to restore it back to how it was. People I know get paid now. Some of the women, they don't want to stop Tou'a because that's how they earn income. But the problem with that is that it's not a legal job. So it's illegal both in Tonga and anywhere. It's not a job. It's not considered an employment. They don't declare any income. And the problem is the families in Tonga send their women overseas to Tonga. And that tells you how backward our society is. We should encourage and empower women to study, educate themselves, look for proper employment and career. Tou'a is not a career. They send them into Tou'a overseas, and it causes so many marriages to break up. The Faikava is mostly married men. When Tou'a go there and Faikava and Tou'a for money, yeah, they earn a little bit of income from there, but in the cost of breaking up so many families, leaving children fatherless and leaving wives to look after the children, while the husband ran off with the Tou'a and built a new family. So that is the problem that's been happening for generations. We need to do something about it, because if not, it's going to continue. So that is why I'm trying to ban Tou'a, because these women come legally overseas or Tou'a in Tonga for money, they get exploited because men have the power, they have the money. So if the Tou'a doesn't do what they want, then they won't get paid as much. If you read some of the testimonials from the Tou'a, they want them to talk dirty to them. They can touch these Tou'a without the Tou'a getting angry or trying to stop them. They want to allow those type of behavior so the Tou'a can just be quiet, in order to get paid. So they get sexually exploited in the kava setting, and even to the point of rape. So many women have been raped by the Thai government. So it's not only adult women, even teenage women, even minors, 16 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old. And today, before the interview, I had an update from one of the Tou'a that messaged me with her testimony that she was raped by one of the Thai government here in Sydney. She was 18 years old when this happened. And I just got an update today that she's pregnant to the man that raped her in the Faikava. That is why I'm trying to ban it, because if we don't ban it, even adult women and young teenagers will continue to be raped and sexually abused in the Faikava spaces.
Really think about the women that actually go in and be a do'a. They're real women, some participating because they're trying to support their families or forced to be in that. And even if they did think of it as just a profession, I don't know if that's even a great thing, but just looking at every woman to protect. I was talking to one of my students recently, especially as Pasifika women. When you come here, a lot of times people outside of the culture do something to achieve something. It's usually all about
Yes.
you. But as Pasifika people, I'm thinking of myself. I was like, I'm thinking of my family. I'm thinking of the people around me. How can I help them? I always feel like that's who we are as people. We're very communal. And so I just thought about the do'a and how we can protect them. It's just very sad to hear all these different stories. And I can't imagine how difficult it is.
Yeah, because I grew up in Toma. My family wasn't rich, but my parents never once forced me to go and doa for money. People think that banning doa is me hating the women who doa. I feel sorry for them because they think that's the only, living that they can make for themselves when there are so many opportunities out there for women. It's 2026 where women have so many opportunities. They can work from home. They can earn money from TikTok, YouTube, so many opportunities, social media. They can study. And that is what I'm hoping with my not for profit. I started my not for profit because of this issue of this campaign. So I can not only fight to ban the DOA, but what happens after I ban it? That is the question. That's what's most important, is that we want to encourage women to see this from a different light, because women in Samoa, Fiji, and other regions have been surviving for centuries without DOA. They didn't have DOA to earn money. So why are the Tongans panicking, thinking that's the only way for these women to earn money? For me, to be honest, these women are just lazy. They just want to sit there and earn money. But the problem is that I'm also feeling for the wives of the Faikava government who have messaged me with the pain they are going through, because there are so many Tou'a who loves going with these men. These women, they are proud for stealing women's husband. I know so many people are saying, "Oh, just have a Tou'a, but put a policy there, to protect these women." But fight cover happens everywhere, and at night we won't see everything that's happening there. And I don't want any more teenagers to be raped. I don't care what policy you put there. If you put the women there at night, they will continue to be raped. I have tasted kava myself, and I got drunk from it. You can get drunk from kava just like alcohol. The thing is, your mind, you don't think straight. And that's where women get sexually abused. Educating, putting a policy while having a dog there, I don't think it'll protect the women, because they will continue to be sexually harassed in Faikava. Banning it is the only solution to protect these women. If we don't ban it, the next generation is going to grow up and it's going to do the same thing again. So if we ban it now, it's going to protect generations of women in our Tongan community.
I do feel like the majority of them have been forced, but there might be just small a group of women that actually enjoy it. But I think there's a lot of them, especially the women that have reached out to you, are doing it because they were told to go do it or they didn't want to do it. So I don't know if they were all lazy, but I think they definitely were victims.
Yeah. There are different types of doa. So when we talk about doa, it's not all the same. I posted on social media, there are uh, three different types of doa. So the one who are forced by their families to doa, that is what I'm worried about. That's where human trafficking comes in. Sex trafficking, where women are forced to go and doa and then get sexually abused. And also the women, I know I shouldn't be using it, but the women I call prostitute, because they like to go with these for government. They enjoy it. And the third one is the one who is just desperate for money. But they all are causing problems in the Tongan society. The one is forced, they are sexually abused. They don't want to doa, and that is what I'm worried about. I do not want families to force their own daughters to go and doa for money and
Yeah.
then get sexually harassed there and get sexually assaulted. And I do not want the women who likes doa to break up families. So many families that are breaking up in the Faikava spaces because they enjoy getting the attention and going with these married men go around and Tou'a for money. That's where they get sexually exploited by these men. So when you look at it from different perspectives, there's nothing good about Tou'a. The hope is when we ban Tou'a, we will, educate these women, encourage women to take on courses or take on, legal job where they can build a career from it. They can't build a career from being a Tou'a, and it won't help them in the long run.
There's a lot to unpack there. I see all of them as victims. I think even the women that are praising themselves for doing these things, there's something in them that has made them say it's okay. But I think sometimes we try to build our mind to try and be that. People that usually get abused the most, like out here, are sex workers. And it's because they think, I don't have any rights. I don't have the ability to do anything. And
Yeah.
that's why they get abused. And that's what we're hoping doesn't happen, especially to be the only woman there, to be objectified by all these men. That's just not the right way to do that.
Any normal person will see it and it's wrong. Like you said, our victims is because they have been conditioned. They have been conditioned with this idea when they grew up that being a Tou'a is a privilege. Being a Tou'a is an honor. You should be proud that you're able to sit there and earn money, and men are staring at you and they praise your beauty and everything. So I like the perspectives that that you raised there, of all of them being victims, and not just them, it's also the wives. You'll be surprised at how many wives of these Faikava men who are defending the Tou'a and Faikava, and somehow they are also conditioned to accept that Tou'a is okay. It's crazy to me, and that's what happens when you use culture and tradition by men to try and condition and manipulate their women to believe that having a Tou'a is okay.
Yeah, there's memes, there's a lot of these reels, and I know, like, majority of it, you're the center of that, and I give you much props for standing up to it. Also, I find it so interesting going back to this concept. I'm Afghasi, I'm half Korean, half Samoan, but I'm so proud of being Samoan. I'm so proud to be a Pacific woman. For me and my upbringing, my mom instilled that concept, especially to me and my brother, husband and wife, great, but then your brother is gonna have your back, your sister is gonna have your back. If I'm someone, I'm probably going to be in a room, we're both related in some way or another. And I think even in the Tongan culture, like the concept of a fahu, I
Yeah.
think that's such a beautiful concept. Like, we don't have it in our Samoan culture, but I'm like, oh, I'm the oldest. I should get some privilege just like every other fahu.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great thing. When you go and you step out, it's always being respectful to one another. And I love that you were like, if we could, let's go back to what's supposed to be with reverence, with respect. Because if we go back to our traditional culture, it's having respect for your sister, your family.
And that's the problem. Not only in the Faikava, you know how bad it was when they film it on social media. But they film it
Yes.
on social media and they laugh about it like it's okay. That was the craziest thing, because I've seen these videos from years ago and I go through the comments and I can't believe how normalized it is for people
Yeah.
to just make fun of the Tou'a and laugh about them, dancing with the Tou'a. See, dancing wasn't part of the Tou'a Tongan culture, but mostly in America, in United States and here in Sydney, Tou'an are now, Faikava men are now dancing with the Tou'a in the Faikava, even encouraging them to kiss the Tou'a, and then they post it on social media. And then the Tongan community online are also encouraging this type of behavior to continue. And whenever someone speak up against it, they're like wild animals coming to attack that person. And that is why I have been in the center of it, because no one has been able to go against these men, because they're so vicious online. You can see some of the reels, some of the songs and everything they made about me. And that I don't really care about that. I'm just thankful that God gave me the courage to fight them and to be able to help these victims. I have nieces myself. I do not want my nieces or any other Tongan young women to be forced by their own families, even forced by their own parents, to go and Tou'a for money and then get sexually assaulted in the Faikava. And that is why I'm trying to ban Tou'a to protect these women. Not only the women now, but in the future as well.
This whole scandal thing that came out recently, that's how I learned and I came across your page. A lot of people were mentioning your name. I read the post and I couldn't help but cry because I'm like, no woman should go through that and feel like they can't speak out. I feel like people should be rallying against the ban and supporting women, the victims. In April, it is Sexual Awareness Month. Is there anything put out there where a woman can protect herself? I feel like everyone does come and tell you the story, but how can they help themselves? What are tips that you could give a woman who feels she can't get out of it? What are some ways that we can help them?
Yes, I think the first step is to talk to someone that you trust. If you can't trust your relative, talk to a friend. If something happened to you, go to the police right away. Don't wait for too long. Just some of these women are in fear of going to the police because they don't have legal visa, but they can get protected by the police if something happened to them. So my advice: talk to the police and also talk to someone you trust. If you can afford a therapist or a counselor, go and see a therapist or counselor. Depending on the country you are at, there are free services. In New Zealand, there are free services for Pacific women to go through. I posted a few of these resources online on my page. And in Tonga, there is the Women's Centre there in Tonga where they can go there. In Australia, they can contact the police. There are so many services, free services out there. I have posted some of these resources online. Another thing to protect themselves is to speak up. I am available. So our not-for-profit, the Pasifika Empowerment, our inbox are still open. If they don't know where to go, if they don't know who to talk to, if they are afraid to speak up, message me on social media or contact us on our website, pasifikaempowerment.org. My goal for our not-for-profit is to help support these women. Once the campaign is successful and we get to ban Tou'a, we will then work on programs that will support these women and try to help them get a career or have a space where victims of sexual abuse, not just Tou'a, if it's a family sexual abuse. I received so many testimonials I haven't shared because some of the testimonials is not Faikava related. Some of the testimonials is sexual abuse by family, and I haven't shared them. I was surprised myself for these women to come to me because they don't know me. Like I just started my podcast, and for them to feel safe coming to me, that is what I hope to continue building, with my not-for-profit, is to build a space in the Pacific and anywhere around the world for anyone who experienced sexual abuse, anyone to come to us and tell us their stories so we can help them. If anyone out there is currently suffering and you don't know where to go, message me and I can help direct you to the right support.
That's really good to know. I was just thinking, especially us in Pacifica, we always have like community. This is not an easy fight. Is there anyone from the islands that has stepped in to help with your campaign? Because you mentioned there's a women community center in Tonga. And I'm curious if there's partnership to help drive that because like Faikava happen to have these community halls or in the churches. Is there like a active campaign out there?
Yeah, surprisingly that you asked that because that was my first hope. My first hope was to work with the Women Center in Tonga, but shockingly, early this year there was a bit of a problem. It turns out the director already learned about our work, director of the Women Children Center in Tonga, but she didn't want to acknowledge what I'm doing. So there was a huge issue online. She wrote an article with a media online about the Faikava and Tou'a issue, and people were saying she didn't acknowledge me there because of what I've raised. And people were commented and saying, why didn't you acknowledge Akanese? She's the one who raised this topic. And then I think it caused her to be angry and made this post that they've been. So it's like, the competition spirit in our Pacific. It's like they're trying to compete, So that caused a huge problem online last month. So now I can't have any collaboration with them anymore. So I am now working with other women to help me, but I do not have yet an organization in Tonga that are willing, because the problem is majority of the Tongan community, they do not want the Tou'a to be banned. That is the problem. They don't believe in my campaign. They don't think Tou'a should be banned, and it's really hard to get support from them. but I have support from Tongan women from other countries that are helping, and here in Australia, that are helping me get this proposal to the government in Tonga.
Well, that's good. I hope everything goes well. That's one of the reasons for Dear Suga is like in the past, I've always thought crabs in a bucket. When one woman goes up, it's like someone else is trying to pull them down. But I believe if we can put away those differences, we can do so much more when we work together to make things happen. And so hopefully there's a change so that there's more support because that's definitely where you want them, right? In Tonga to help people. So you're doing a good fight. You keep going because it's important. I hopefully see more women step out to support the cause. It's not easy to come out and talk about these things, especially if you've actually gone through it yourself. Having conversation, telling someone's story can actually save someone's life. And so I give props to the women that have actually come. And I think it's also very therapeutic when you get a chance to actually talk about it. It kind of helps you. A lot of women want their stories to be told, but there's like fear behind it. And hopefully we can find a way that we don't have that fear and that women can step forward. So I know we've been on the topic of Tou'a for a bit, but you also have a lot of things going on. You're an entrepreneur, you're definitely an advocate. And I love that you were talking about finding ways to help women like sustain themselves. Because if this is banned and this is something that, financially someone depended on, some people can't go to college, some people can't like do things, and it almost feels hopeless, right? And so talking about ways that they could do that, and you have also the Tou'a marketplace. So do you mind if you could talk a little bit about that platform?
Interestingly, I paused the platform for now. Since my campaign and speaking out, it's been affecting my business. Before I started my not for profit, I decided to pause my CEO marketplace for now and try and focus on this fight, focus on the not for profit. Because, like you said, where will the women go once the is banned? And that is where I want to focus on. My not for profit is getting people to come together and plan how can we help these women. The ideas that we have is to create a training program for women. We can do it online in the Pacific, in Tonga, and in other regions. But the starting point is creating a training program to help these women, guide them to where they want to go. What are you good at? Are you good at weaving? Are you good at fishing? Are you good at fashion? What are you good at? And then you can come and then we can try and help you build that talent into something that will help you get a job or get a career or get income from. Even though these women earn money from Tou'a overseas, it won't help them in the long run. They will stay reliant on Tou'a for so long. And then what's next? Nothing. But this is an opportunity for them to build something for them. Our life is to live a life with purpose. So to stay and work illegally and only gain this amount of money and to be sexually exploited, sexually harassed every night, that's not a thing. Even though these women are proud of doing it, no women can handle that for so long. If you get sexually harassed every night to Tou'a for money. So that is our hope, is to guide them. What are they good at? If English is the problem, we can help them. Education is key. Doesn't matter what education, if it's construction, if it's fashion, if it's working in the office, if it's computer, at least we help them, guide them to the right place. Yeah.
That's a great cause, and hopefully there's more opportunities because these things take a lot of funding, time, and energy. I love that you were talking about the Pacific Empowerment podcast because it's a great platform. And so you mentioned that you actually started out just to kind of tell people's story as well. And then somehow you found your passion. Could you talk a little bit more as what was the initial perspective or the initial concept behind the Pacific Empowerment podcast?
Thank you for that. It's so funny. I've always thought about having a podcast for a few years now, and I didn't have the courage to. But then when I started my Sihu marketplace, I tried to promote my marketplace, trying to find collaboration, traveling around Fiji and different regions to try and collaborate. I didn't find much opportunity from there. So when I come back, how can I build my online presence? How can I put myself out there to help me with my Sihu marketplace? Because no one will support your business if they don't know who you are. So I thought, okay, start my Pacific Empowerment podcast. And the reason why I wanted to call it Pacific Empowerment, because I learned about healing. I learned about, changing your mindset and, thinking positively. And I want our people to have that information. In the last few years, I've tried reading so many books, especially personal development, and I'm across Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and so many, motivational speakers out there. So I started going down that road, and it helped me change myself because I had my own issues as well that I had to deal with, my own personal trauma. So I went through so many years of healing before I started my podcast, and I wanted to share that with our people. Most of our people, they don't even know what trauma is, what therapy is. People make fun of mental health. I grew up in Tou'a, and I see so many people struggling with domestic violence and sexual abuse and so many issues. And I felt that is where the gap is that our people don't know how to heal. They don't know how to talk about their problems. There's no safe space in the Pacific, because every time someone comes out and talk about their personal problems, they make fun of them. And that is why I wanted to start my podcast, is to talk about my personal experience and then to help our people change and transform their life as well.
I've had a life coach, Beverly, and we were talking about one culture, and I think it's across the Pacific. When someone's crying, you say, "Don't cry, just suck it up." And then we get to a point where we can't hold it, then we just out, and it's like comes out the wrong way. So it's learning how to regulate your emotions. Something I'm learning too. It's not an easy thing, but this is something in the community that we need to do more. So I love that you were talking about growing up in Tonga. What are some values or things that really shaped who you are today?
I think growing up in Tonga, it really taught me so much. It made me who I am today. That's why I'm this strong to fight these Faikava men. My dad was a very tough man, and I learned so much from him. And I'm the youngest of 5 children. My parents were church ministers, and I'm usually the one who go around with them. We move around villages when we were a church ministers, and I learned so much from their work. And it's funny because I'm speaking against the very own church I grew up in, because there are so many things that I don't agree with, and I'm trying to encourage our church to ban the Tou'a. In a church, the very own school that I grew up in, I'm speaking against them because they are the one who practice Tou'a so much. Tou'a is used for fundraising in church. That is why I'm speaking against it. But what I've learned from growing up is to be strong, to not rely on anyone. I remember my older brothers were living overseas at the time while I was in Tonga with my parents. And I used to ask my brother, "Oh, can you send me this?" You know how the Tongans are, And then sometimes my brother won't be able to send it. And then I would be so upset, and I told my parents, "Oh, they didn't send me this." And then my parents would tell me, that is why we want you to focus on your education. One day you will be able to afford anything you want. You do not have to rely on anyone. And that stuck with me. After high school, I went on to do my university degrees. And after that, I learned to rely on myself. That is something that I've learned from my parents. And that is how I am this strong and able to handle all the pressure that I've been getting, is that I grew up in a very strong household.
That's good. I appreciate you sharing that experience because our experience shaped the way we think and do things. I also grew up in a household where my mom's like, learn how to depend on yourself. There's a good balance. I think it's like you have to learn to be self sustaining. You have to learn to take care of yourself first in order to take care of other people. I feel like there's a need for connection. You have to learn who you are first, too, in order to really give back. And you learn from other people and their experiences as well. So what's next for you? I know you've got to make sure that you ban the Tou'a. That's the misconception people have, that, oh my gosh, she is against all this stuff. But I'm hearing it. It's the objectifying of a woman, putting her into this space where she doesn't feel safe. So thank you for clarifying that. And this Yuhu marketplace is a really good concept. You're definitely an entrepreneur and advocate. And despite what it is, you definitely have a heart for Tonga. It's not like you're saying, "Oh, I don't want to be part of this culture." You're like, let's find a way to improve. And I see that. If you didn't care, you would just be like, forget it. I don't need to fight for this. And so what's next for you?
Right now, focusing on launching a proposal to the government in Tonga to ban Tou'a, also raising money. I haven't done a not-for-profit before. So I'm learning. I have other people helping me. It's new for me to ask people for money, to do fundraising and everything. But I have to try and adjust myself. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for the victims, for the people out there. I'm always speaking about women, but men as well are victims of sexual abuse. I have received testimonials from men as well who were sexually abused in Faikava. Our program is for any victims, men or women who have been sexually abused. It's crazy that I'm talking about sexually abuse because I haven't had any experience of sexual abuse. I want to help those who experience sexual abuse because I know they can be wounded from that experience and it's really hard to heal from them. And that's why I'm helping. I know people out there are saying, though I won't be banned, but I tell them I will fight until it's banned because I do not want any other women to be victims of Faikava. They say, why don't you ban nightclubs as well? Because nightclubs is as bad as Faikava. No one is forced to go to nightclubs because you don't get paid to go to the nightclubs. And bartender, they have laws and rules. It's safer for women to go to the nightclubs because there are so many women there. Whereas Faikava, there's only one woman, where it's not safe for any woman to be there alone. And that is what's next for me. Also, people have been asking me for my t-shirt. They wanted to buy my t-shirt, but this is only a t-shirt of mine that I printed it. So now more people are asking me, where can they buy the t-shirt? So I'm thinking of starting my own merchants to raise money to help with our projects, to help the Pacific community.
I think you give a great point. If anyone's watching this and you have been in this experience, I feel like that woman, once she starts healing and once she has the courage to take it on, is going to be truly passionate and help you drive it because their story is going to definitely help someone. It starts with you, and hopefully it gives the courage to the woman that's been through it to actually speak out about it because her story can really save someone's life out there. Our experiences shaped us, but what is the one thing you want the next generation of Pacific women to know about finding their voice?
I want our women to heal from whatever they are going through, sexual abuse, domestic violence, because I wouldn't be able to stand today and speak against this if I wasn't healed myself. Before I used to be insecure. I used to care so much about other people's opinion. And I used to hide in my room. I don't want to get out there and speak. But the reason why I'm here today and talk about this, because I am on my healing journey. Healing is ongoing, but I have healed so much. I'm not the same person I was before. In anything that anyone says to me now, it doesn't really matter because I am secure in myself. And that is the first step. In order for you to be strong, in order for you to have, courage to come out and, speak about something you're very passionate about, you have to heal. Work on yourself first. Our Pacific people, they want to humble us so much that we think so low of ourselves. But I want to change that. I want our people to think highly of themselves. Humility is different. There is a fine line between being humble and just talking yourself down, just thinking so negative about yourself. And that is what I want women and men out there who are listening. I have received messages from Faikava men that are listening and they haven't learned about healing before. And now they're learning about healing. And that is the first step I want the next generation and our generations now to focus on is to heal yourself. The first step is to talk to someone. My advice, read personal development books, listen to motivational speeches. There's so many motivational speakers out there to help you change your mindset. The one thing I want everyone to do right now is to heal.
You gave a great point, and I'm looking at your shirt because it says Christ over culture. I know Tonga is predominantly Christians, same as Samoa. The week that this podcast comes out, it's Holy Week, and it's all about forgiveness. It's all about healing. And I was just thinking, Christ is definitely someone who was way before his time. He hanged out with people who were not people that people like really cared about, whether it be prostitutes, whether it be fishermen, people who society didn't really care for. When you had mentioned healing, I think this is a good time to reflect during the Passover and Easter, just a reminder of what's most important.
Yeah, and that is Christ over culture. Having a woman in a Faikava is just causing men to lust over the Tou'a. And there's a Bible verse about that. If you lust towards a woman, you are already committing adultery in your heart. I've been preaching that time and time again. Like, why do you have a woman in there? The only reason why you want a woman there is for you to lust or the woman while you get drunk in kava. And that is why there are so many broken marriages, even though they say, oh, it's tradition to have a woman there to lust over. That is not God culture. We should always prioritize Christ over culture. And if culture is causing you to sin, if culture is causing you to lust over a woman and break up marriages and causes you to drink kava most of the time, spend more time in Faikava than your own family, then we have to review this culture and see what damage it's done to our society. Because Jesus is really big on family values, parents and children. And if kava and Tou'a is causing so many families to break up and women to be sexually abused, that is not a culture that Christ is proud of. That's not what the Bible teaches. And if anything is going against the Bible, then we should get rid of it. Why are we still defending it as a Christian nation? The reason why people say that I'm trying to ban the kava, because I'm trying to reduce the restrictions time of drinking kava. Maybe drink kava from 8 to 12 p.m. and then shut down the kava cup, then go home and spend time with your family. But don't drink kava from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. If you are still trying to defend a culture that is causing men to sexually assault our women and also causing broken marriages, then doesn't come from God. You have to review your faith again and go back to see what the word of God is saying.
I think some people twist it to make it their own, which reminds me of Samoan. When I think of halls, it's usually like a church hall. I don't know if it's the same thing. But even if we're really going to talk about culture, if our culture is highly respecting our sisters, then what happened to that culture? It seems like people are choosing when it's right for them.
This happens in church hall, and most of the fundraising in church, and why people are defending these men, because these men help so much in the Tongan community. They help build new churches. And so they're using the women though to get more men to come to the Faikava and give more money. But the problem is some of these men give their money to fundraising, but then the wives and kids at home are hungry. The reason why they're defending it because the church gets so much money from this. That's why it's really hard to stop the Tou'a. So if we ban the Tou'a, not many men will go to Faikava anymore. They will stay home, which is a good thing. Stay home with your wife and children. That is a Christian value. But the church hall is where they have these Tou'a and Faikava, and they talk dirty to the Tou'a in the church hall. If you read the testimonies, sexual harassment, sexual assault, what happened in the church hall, the church has to review their faith, because what God are you praying to if you are allowing this type of behavior to happen in church and try to justify it using culture?
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack. That's a big issue. And so my hat goes off to you and the work that you're doing and for taking the time to really step in and coming into Dear Suga to also share that information. For me, culture is one thing, but when a woman isn't feeling safe and you're not there to protect, it's not good. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with us, talk with us. Thank you again, Akanese. You've been super awesome. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. So glad we had this talk. Very interesting conversation. And thank you for what you're doing. I am so glad that there are other women like that out there in the Pacific doing the same thing. We're trying to help our community change their mindset and transform their lives and become better Pacific people. So I'm glad to meet you. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about my campaign and the Faikava and Tou'a issue.
I think as if we all stand together, we can definitely make a difference. Thank you for being part of this conversation. I want to say this with deep respect. This is not about rejecting culture and attacking kava. Culture connects us, grounds us, and holds meaning. But anything, when used in excess or without boundaries, become harmful. When something that was once sacred begins to create unsafe environments, we need to pause and reflect. When does a practice stop reflecting its original purpose? When does it begin to put women at risk? There's a difference between being the only woman in a room full of men where you're part of the conversation, where you are treated with respect and with reverence, and a space where you are the only woman being objectified, sexualized, and absorb behavior that wouldn't be accepted anywhere else. That creates a power imbalance. And power imbalances are where harm happens. There was a video that recently circulated online. It did lead me to learn about Tou'a. I didn't watch it because everyone and everybody on my feed was talking about it. And that made me pause. Because even if we don't participate directly, we're still part of the environment that allows for these things to spread. So it's worth asking ourselves, what are we amplifying? What are we normalizing? And how might that impact women in our communities? This isn't about attacking culture. It's about reflection. As we recognize April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, let this be a reminder to every woman. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be treated with respect. And you always have the right to leave a space when you feel unsafe. For more information or to support the petition, you can visit pacificaempowerment.org or you can reach out to Akanese. I'll be sure to link her information in the description below. And please remember, Dear Suga is part of your community. If you need support, guidance, or resources, whether it's me or Akanese, we will do our best to support in however we can. If you know another Suga who would benefit from this conversation, please share this with them. If this conversation stirs something in you, I invite you to share what stood out for you. Let's continue the dialogue with openness and care. It's not an easy conversation, but it's an important one. Thank you to Akanesi Kaufusi for being a big advocate and support for women. And I hope there's more people that can help the campaign or be open to share their perspective so we can all learn together. Thank you again for being part of Dear Suga. I look forward to welcoming you in the next episode with all my alofa and mana. Yes, soy Fua Maia Manuia.